Folks, now it's time for a petrochemical leadership panel. Please help me welcome Sharon Hulgan with Dow, Kim Haas with ExxonMobil, and Dirk Perrin, CP Chem, and our moderator, Jim Griffin, Vice Chancellor, Center for Petrochem, Energy and Technology, San Jac College. Let's get them all up here, please.
Well, good morning. How about a round of applause for the first panel? Yeah, they set a high bar for us, but I think we're ready. So for those of you that have attended this conference for many years, been going on 15 years, we've had this panel for 15 years, and we have a tradition. And the tradition is regarding the bios. The bios are in your printed material. Leaders like this have extensive bios. It would take me all 40 minutes to read the bios. So what we have is we have some personal, not kind of out of the bio thing, and we need some participation from the crowd, right? So I'm going to describe a little bit of background, and then you are going to vote by a pause who you think it is, okay? You got it? All right, okay. So, so the first is, this panelist is a military veteran, and not just a military veteran, but a veteran that jumped out of airplanes, perfectly good airplanes, and thought that was a good idea. So a vote of with applause that you think it's Sharon. Okay.
Good guess.
Who thinks it's Kim? All right. And Dirk? I don't know, Dirk, if they think that's a courage thing or just good sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Okay, so
I think they read the bios.
So we're going to go on to the next description. And I don't know if you all have ever sang at a wedding. I can't imagine, but this person didn't just sing at a wedding, sang at many weddings. Okay, Sharon? Kim? No singing, just jumping out of airplanes.
Call.
Okay, I got that. Okay, and Dirk? Okay, y'all think it's Dirk. Okay, and the last...
They haven't heard me sing.
All right, we're having some fun with this. Okay, so the last generational farmer, 5 years of farming. Oklahoma, grew up on a small farm, still does farming, and Hereford heifers, showed Hereford heifers. Okay, you got that? Big farming experience. Okay, Sharon, Kim, and Dirk. All right, okay, so you were correct on the first. You got it right with Kim. You were incorrect on the second one. The wedding singer is Sharon. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the farming piece. It's all three, right? All three grew up on farms, still do some farming today. And so quick plug for the Pasadena Livestock Show and Rodeo in 2 weeks. And I saw two of the board members out there, so I think this is the panel that you want to be talking to. So farming backgrounds, now operating petrochemical plants and refineries. So we're going to start with the questions. So start with you, Sharon. Tell us a little bit about Dow and your assignment and your responsibility with Dow Chemical.
Absolutely. So I have been around Dow since 1991. And I've actually been around Dow longer than that because my dad worked for Dow from the late 60s. And so I grew up going to family days there and wanting to be a part of something as large and as great as what Dow was doing. So I joined Dow as a co-op in 1991 and graduated from college in 1994, spent a short stint working in the refrigerants industry for Allied Signal, and then made my way back into Dow in 1997 through research and development. And I've held a variety of different roles, but my current role is Site Manufacturing Director for the Houston Hub, which encompasses a lot of our large monomers and coatings assets. And so we are the largest acrylic acid producing site in the world, largest butyl acrylate plant, ethyl acrylate plant, and have a very large vinyl acetate monomer plant in Texas City. And I'm responsible for all of that, along with the wonderful men and women who run those assets.
Same question. Okay. I have been with the company for 20 years. I had a prior work experience before joining the company. As you know, I was in the military and worked for Deloitte before going to get my grad degree at Washington University in St. Louis. 20 years with the company. I started with early supply chain roles and then have been in manufacturing for the last 12 years. My current role is the site manager for our Baytown Olefins plant for ExxonMobil. It is the largest ethylene plant that we have within our ExxonMobil fleet globally, and we produce over 10 billion pounds of petrochemical products a year. The primary products that we make are ethylene, propylene, and butadiene. And as Sharon mentioned in her role, I'm responsible for the safety, reliability, environmental performance of that asset, and leading the wonderful men and women at that facility.
All right, so I graduated college in '97 and got to Texas as quick as I could. I started my career with Phillips 66 right down the road here at our Pasadena plastics plant, now Houston Chemical Complex. Spent my first 15 years there. In year 2000, we merged our chemicals with Chevron and P66. So I spent my whole career with Phillips and Chevron Phillips. Got the opportunity to do lots of exciting things. Worked overseas for 8 years in Singapore and Qatar. But right now I'm just down the road at Baytown. I'm the plant manager there. Been there about a year and a half. It's a great place. It's our largest facility in the CP Chem fleet. Similarly, we make olefins, polyethylene, alpha olefins, polyalpha olefins. Just a great site. We got 12 different units and lots of exciting things always going on. Great team that we have out there. It's fun just to go to work every single day and face a new challenge.
You know, it's interesting with this panel. We hear similar stories. You've done a lot in your career. You've done a lot geographically. Where you started is not where you are today. So we know a little bit more about you. Tell us more about your companies, the products you make, the innovation, what's special about that. Kim, maybe you could start us off with that.
Sure. Within ExxonMobil, we're global. We have refining petrochemical assets around the world. That probably is not news to you guys. Several competitive advantages that we continue to focus on is our scale, our integration. Baytown specifically, we are an integrated refining and petrochemical facility that brings a lot of benefits that I'll come back to. We also leverage competitive advantage in terms of technology, our technology advantage. An example of those two competitive advantages is leveraging the integration that we have in the assets in Baytown to advance our proprietary technology and advanced recycling, where we're leveraging existing assets, units in our Baytown refinery to process plastic waste that's really difficult to mechanically recycle and would otherwise find its way into the landfill, and produce and upgrade that into premium plastic products that our customers are wanting.
Yeah, for CP Chem, CP Chem is just a great company because we've grown so much. You know, we started out in the 2000s. Chemical industry was not in a great spot, but you know, our size of our company has just been, one growth project after the next. So it's been a very exciting time. We also have assets all over the world. We typically build facilities where we can get good economical feedstocks. So in the early 2000s, that was in the Middle East, and here more recently with the shale oil, it's been right here in our backyard. So we produce everything on the chemical side from I mentioned earlier the olefins, polyethylene, alpha olefins, and we have great technology that we're very proud of, license a lot of that technology. We have a very aggressive goal on the advanced recycling as well. Our expectation is to produce 1 billion pounds here by 2030. So we're working hard as a company to do that.
Sharon, your turn to brag on Dow.
Absolutely. So you can't really say Dow without saying decarbonize and grow. That's Dow's major strategy right now as we look at concerns around climate science, and we also look at concerns around needs for products on a global scale. Dow is, at least as of a year or two ago, was the world's largest producer of ethylene, and that is fully integrated downstream into polyethylene. Before I came to Deer Park, returned to Deer Park, I was working in Freeport for the LHC-9 ethane steam cracker, which I believe is still the largest ethane steam cracker in the world. And when you look at that and then look at the impact on things like CO2 emissions, Dow is really investing in things that they think are important to sustainability of our industry on the world scale. So we have announced a huge $6 billion project in Canada related to some incentives and subsidies from the Canadian government, and that's called Path to Zero. It'll be the first fully integrated net zero ethylene, polyethylene complex in the world. And we are looking at similar projects really in the U.S. where it makes sense, where we have positive financial return and can do good. We've recently invested in some reservoir projects and working to make sure we have water, which is incredibly important both for industry and for the people and farmers in communities that need that access to water. So we are a major player. Unlike my friends here, I'm core chemicals, not oil and gas, but I am thankful that oil and gas is still a major player in the U.S. When I was looking at jobs 30 years ago, I was concerned and really believed some of the, I think, misguidings of whether or not oil and gas was sustainable in this country, and it has been. And I could have made a wonderful 30-year career in that industry, like my partners here. But somebody has to make core chemicals, and we're proud to do that in Dow.
Okay, I'm going to put the audience to work again, and we have some good questions, but we're also very interested in your questions. So if you do put those in, we will take a look at those and do our best to answer. So I'm going to, we've heard a little bit about you and your companies. I think we're all interested in community engagement. I know that's core to your values. So, Dirk, maybe you could start us off with that. Tell us a little bit about community engagement and what it takes to be a good neighbor.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is absolutely core. Chevron Phillips' tagline is performance by design, caring by choice. And that's largely about being a great partner, being a great neighbor with the communities in which we operate. The communities where we're at, they give us our license to operate. So it's having that relationship is extremely important. We're very proud. We have great employees at our sites that do a lot of volunteer work in our communities. We offer them lots of opportunities for them to get out there, get involved, and we have a great turnout for all of our events. It's fun, and we have a lot of groups, as a group activity, whether it's an operations group, maintenance group, as a team project, they'll go out there and do some volunteer activity, and this really just builds a lot of excitement, enthusiasm at the site and the community. We're very proud. When I leave work and I go to Lowe's and I'm wearing my FRC with my Chevron Phillips on it, I'm very proud to go in there, and so many people come up to you and want to ask you questions and learn a little bit about Chevron Phillips, and that's exciting. It's not like that, as you all know, in other places around the United States and the world.
For ExxonMobil, we really value the relationship that we have with our Baytown community. We've essentially grown up with the community, being in operation for 105 years. And we encourage our employees to give back. We have hundreds of volunteers every year spending their personal time in communities, in the community outreach such as Day of Caring and Relay for Life, as well as community schools. In addition, our employees contribute, this year alone, we'll be contributing $1.2 million to the greater Baytown area in Chambers County United Way. And we do this because we recognize the role that we play in the Baytown community, which is providing quality jobs and sustaining economic prosperity here.
I'll echo my colleagues here and say community support is vital for long-term sustainability of the type of business that we're in. We had the privilege to sit down with Jay Stokes, who's the Deer Park City Manager, for a listening session and to share some of the data that our public affairs organization had gathered from the local community on their sentiment toward industry. And one of the things that was a very pleasant surprise is that our data was an anomaly with regard to other Dow operating sites. The closer you got to the plant in Deer Park, the more the public sentiment was favorable toward industry. And that's incredibly important as we seek new permits to grow our enterprise, as we look for permit renewals. If the community does not believe we are good neighbors, as Dirk articulated, they can revoke that license to operate. If there's an advocacy group that goes and tries to essentially fight against that permit, then that can slow all of that down, and then the progress is stalled or maybe even not authorized at all.
A mentor in my first plant manager role gave me some advice I'll never forget. And he said, the neighborhood allows you in the community. And your job, Jim, is to be a good neighbor and to really understand your community. And clearly, you take that personally, as does your company. And I think as a group here, we applaud that. All right, so we've got some wonderful questions. That's a smart group out here. We've got a lot of questions coming in, really good ones. One is about workforce, right? So tell us about workforce, what you're finding, the challenges, what you're looking for, the opportunities around workforce. Sharon?
Absolutely. So we have a proud partnership with San Jacinto College. We are very interested in growing the workforce of the future. We've got some of our leaders involved in the LaPorte Education Foundation because tomorrow's technicians, tomorrow's engineers are likely in the elementary and high school students in this community. The people like this area, they're invested, generationally invested, and they want to be here. And so we want to reach out to them and make sure they have access to these stable, high-paying jobs. We have started an apprenticeship program, which is fantastic because it allows the students to actually see what working on the job is like, to learn and qualify in areas. It allows them to see if Dow is the right employer for them, and also allows us to see, do they have the right skill set, attitude to be a long-term fit for Dow. So we've seen great progress with this process and are really enjoying investing in workforce development.
For ExxonMobil, probably similar to my peers up here's companies, we value from a wage hiring standpoint individuals who are seeking certifications and advanced degrees from our local community colleges, such as San Jac or Lee College and Lee College. We also balance the hiring of campus new hires as well as experienced hires, and we see value in this balance because of the different perspectives that we get from that combination in giving new insights to our existing work processes. Ultimately, we're continuing to seek candidates to join the company who really demonstrate a strong attribute of wanting to learn. And Karen mentioned, the challenges of what we do today versus what we're going to need to do tomorrow and in the future. Individuals who are willing to learn new technologies, new ways of doing things, new troubleshooting skills. Those are the attributes that we're continuing to seek out. And being a veteran, we always value hiring veterans. They make great employees.
Yeah, not a whole lot to add. Y'all said it very well. We absolutely value the partnerships with our local colleges. We also bring high school students into our site, show them around, show them what happens out there, because most high school students, as you can imagine, have no idea. So we were already recruiting, trying to get those technicians of the next few years, if we can get some of them to to go to college and get an engineering degree, go to Lee College, get a technician certificate. I mean, those are the employees, the local employees are the ones we want to have at our site. Those end up being great employees. They're embedded, they're engaged, they're involved. And we've seen time and time again when we can hire locally with the great talent we have here, it leads to success.
So I think we would probably agree the most important asset to a successful plant is the people. But there's also some questions here around what are you building? What are you constructing? What's the future look like for you in capital expansion? Kim, would you like to kick that one off?
Sure. I think one of the most significant investments that ExxonMobil currently is evaluating is the investment of our first world-scale low-carbon hydrogen plant here in the Baytown, at our Baytown facilities. This plant would produce up to 1 billion cubic feet of low-carbon hydrogen from natural gas. It's expected to start up in the 2028-2029 timeframe, and it would generate nearly 2,000 direct jobs here in Texas during peak construction. Converting our largest ethylene plant to low-carbon hydrogen fuel could be a viable solution, or a showcasing a viable solution that could then provide a pathway to decarbonize the chemical industry. So very, very exciting. It is subject to final investment decision, which we expect next year, as well as subject to supportive government policy, regulatory permits, and market conditions. But overall, just really exciting project that we have right here in our backyard that ExxonMobil is progressing.
Yeah, so for those of you all that were here last year, you heard our CEO, Steve Pruzak, talking about our 2 world-scale projects that we are in construction of right now. One of them is in Qatar, and the other one is in Orange, Texas, with our partners, Qatar Energy. And those are both very exciting projects, world-scale ethylene crackers and their associated polyethylene units. Those are using the most advanced technology to produce a product that's, the most energy efficient, lowest emission plants out there. So we're very excited about those plants, those assets. They'll be starting up in 2026. They're both in pretty much peak construction. We have just the Orange site. We have we'll peak out a little over 4,500 construction jobs and more than 500 full-time employees just for the Orange site. And similarly, the same thing will be for our plant in Qatar we're building.
So Dow has 3 big capital projects globally that it's looking at. Discussed a bit earlier, the one in Canada, which is part of Path to Zero. There's a large project being evaluated at the Freeport site related to ethylene oxide chemistry, and there's a large project being evaluated right here in Deer Park, which would pursue alternate technology to make methyl methacrylate. It would be integrated back into ethylene, which Dow is an industry leader in, and it would also reduce our CO2 footprint while being feedstock advantaged. And so we're fighting at the trough for limited capital for those assets to be built, but we're optimistic that the economics are such that we'll get support and be able to grow that project here locally.
Yeah, it's interesting. The products that they mention are products that you use every day. Methyl methacrylate, we wouldn't have this screen, you wouldn't have your cell phone, all those products. So absolutely critical to our life and certainly critical to the state of Texas. I know there's a lot of contractors in the audience today. I'm sure you're very excited when you hear billions of dollars and thousands of contractor jobs. So we're excited to see that go forward. I'm going to move on to safety. So I've looked at your safety statistics. They're impressive. Congratulations. Tell us what's that take? What's the culture? Tell us a little bit about the value of safety.
Yeah, I can start. We are very proud of our safety performance. Year after year, we're always right up there at the top of the industry. But it's not easy. I mean, we have to work at it every single day. And, you know, I could talk for an hour just on this topic. But, you know, we take a lot of pride and do a lot of work in onboarding employees and contractors so they know and truly understand. When somebody comes in the door, and especially if they haven't ever worked in this industry before, we are bombarding them with so much information. And anybody that's sat in an all-day presentation, how much of that do you really take away at the end of the day? So we understand that. So we spend a lot of time trying to get down to the core of it so employees and contractors that come into our gate truly understand what's important. And most important is knowing who to ask and making sure they understand our expectation is to ask. Make sure they understand they have stop work responsibility. If they see anybody doing anything that they question, you know, get involved. I guess like I said, I could go on, but another thing that I would mention, here in the last couple of years, we've put a lot of energy and effort, and some of y'all heard the term human performance. And if you don't know that, that's really about, you know, taking the approach and understanding that people make mistakes, and people are going to make mistakes. No matter how well intentioned the person is, we're humans. We're all human. So really thinking deeper into that and trying to create processes and procedures that makes it easier for people to succeed and harder to fail. So whether you're designing a new unit, a new piece of equipment, you take that approach, you have an incident, you do an investigation. You know, it's pretty easy to say, okay, we're gonna retrain and update our procedures. Well, it's taking that deeper. Like, how do I come up with a recommendation to keep that from ever happening again? Take the human out of the equation. So we really are focusing hard on that. For most people, a lot of people, I don't know if it's most, but a lot of people, they understand that it comes naturally. But there's a lot of people that's not the natural thought process. So we're spending a lot of energy training on how to think, you know, from a human performance mind point. And we're seeing lots of significant improvements in the way we do things. So I'm excited about that.
So safety for us is absolutely our number one priority. And I'm proud to say that we've now gone 4.5 years across the company with no workplace fatality. And that's been our main focus, is preventing the very serious events. We don't want anybody to have a cut or to trip either, but our focus has been solely on let's make sure everyone goes home. And that's done really through talking with people. I was talking to one of our production leaders yesterday who had a listening session with his team and said, tell me what jobs you hate. Because if I know what jobs you hate, then I know where you might be willing to take a shortcut. And let's talk about how we're going to engineer those jobs better, change them so you're not tempted that way. We spend a lot of time talking about what has happened in the past because we're big believers that those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And we have an entire workforce of new operators who have not sat through a fatality learning experience report, thankfully, because we've not had one in 4.5 years. But as we teach them these standards, they have to understand why. That's a human need, not just for children. Like, children love to ask why. Adults need to know that too, especially if you're asking them to do something that doesn't appear to be the most streamlined way to do it. They need to understand the consequence of deviation and understand that risk is not worth it.
I could echo all the words that Dirk and Sharon provided. The one maybe add I'll comment on is around the culture. For ExxonMobil and for my facility specifically, our performance is really, the foundation of that is built on the culture of our workforce. My facility has been in operation since 1979. We've got approximately 600 employees there, and that culture is really tied to the generational families who have worked through there. I couldn't tell you how many times I've talked to an employee that they'll comment on, oh, my dad worked here years ago, or my grandfather worked here, and it's built on that pride of their family ties to the safety, performance, and culture that we've built over all of those years. And it ties well to the company's, ExxonMobil's value which we won't do anything to compromise safety. And our end goal is to eliminate those life-altering incidents and ensure that everybody goes home the same condition that they came each day.
You know, when you end your plant manager career, you're going to have a lot of memories, most of them good. But if anyone was ever injured, maybe you've had a couple of those, you're going to remember every one of those, because I know how important people are to you. We're going to move over to technology. There's been some good questions here. They're interested, so we're going to get into your intellectual property here. No, not. We aren't going to ask you what's going on in your R&D center, but you know, people are interested in the technologies that you're bringing forward. We know that you get better every day and you're thinking about some new things. What can you tell the audience about the technologies that are on the table and you're looking for advancing in your business? Sure.
So we're doing a lot with digital acceleration in the plant, looking to utilize more electronic procedures, electronic sensors for valve positions as permissives in electronic procedures so that you can't proceed if something's not in the position that it's supposed to be. And one of the things we're seeing with this new workforce is they are so much more comfortable with digital tools. So we have TrackLab's Pride procedures that are available on smartphones that people can take out into the field and execute the procedure from the ease of a phone in their hand. It has connectivity across the site that would enable them, if they were troubleshooting, to actually log into a Teams meeting and turn their camera around and say, this is exactly what I'm seeing. Do you see this? What do you think? Or do you hear this noise? And so it's enhanced communication between outside operators and control room operators. And we're looking to just further enhance that. It's cutting down on the amount of paper that we're issuing. The other benefit to that is with electronic safe work permits, it won't allow somebody to write a bad permit. It won't allow you to leave something blank. You absolutely can't issue it unless every box is checked and evaluated and answered.
To add on to Sharon's comment on leveraging digitization to improve productivity and efficiency of how we're operating the facility, ExxonMobil is continuing to explore the use of AI in our operations. How do we use that to, again, drive efficiencies? But two projects that I mentioned, advanced recycling, we continue to explore opportunities in our technology competitive advantage to advance that manufacturing process. In addition to the project for the low carbon blue hydrogen, we are investing in burner technology to convert that hydrogen into fuel burning in our existing assets.
Yeah, just to add on, the technology, it's changing fast. So we are also, in addition to what my colleagues talked about, we're also spending a lot of money on our older assets to modernize them. But maybe one specific thing that I'll talk about that's I think is a great example of technology is advanced process control. And in most of our units, we have or we're implementing some sort of advanced process control. And if you don't know what that is, that's a software program that runs alongside your DCS system that takes all the input coming from the field, all your temperatures, pressures, flows. It's taking your analyzer data, your lab data, and it's optimizing the unit from both a efficiency standpoint, energy, reliability standpoint. It is just instantaneous, making small minor adjustments to get the most out of those units. And that is exciting. It works great. It doesn't replace the operator, but it assists the operator. And it works very well when you have a unit that's up and running in relatively steady state. It works very well. And you mentioned AI. It doesn't work as well when you're starting up the unit, shutting down, or if there's a swing, the operator typically has to turn it off. But with AI, the future is that we may have systems that you can use that same type of technology, but it can actually help the operator start up and shut down and work their way through any kind of unit upset you may have. So it's exciting technology. We're exploring it. We got a long ways to go there, but it's happening fast.
It's exciting, isn't it? For those of you that are data statistics people and have never been in a control room, It's amazing. Millions of data points every day that go into a historian and analyzed to improve and control the process. Sharon, there's a question specifically for you, and it's about SMRs. Can you tell us a little bit about small modular reactors and what Dow's thinking down at Cedar?
Absolutely. So Dow has announced a partnership with X-Energy that's also supported by the Department of Energy to look at installing 4 80-megawatt small nuclear reactors. We're understanding that the technology is inherently safe, and so you don't have the concerns with radioactive meltdown or cooling that you have with some other nuclear applications. And so we are looking to build this in the near future in partnership with them. And it's a great tool in the tool belt for non-CO2 emitting energy sources. And so 320 megawatts, we met the gentleman from ERCOT earlier. That's small when you look at what ERCOT is doing, but it is a small contribution to pulling that power need off of ERCOT's grid and being able to do that in-house and be able to do that at CO2 neutral. And so we're looking at nuclear options, which that's an interesting phrase, nuclear option. It's actually a good option, for ways to decarbonize. And we've got a great partnership with X-Energy planned to be built in Cedar.
So that maybe leads us into an energy question, right? So we're in the energy capital of the world, critical to your business. You produce a lot, you consume a lot. Tell us, where do you see energy? We use the word transition. What are you seeing in the energy front, say in the next 5 years?
I'll start. Our CEO, Darren Woods, likes to answer this question it's an and equation. And what he means by that is our industry continues to be focused on producing energy and petrochemical products that drive economic prosperity and raise the living standards around the world. At the same time, we're focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and improve our operational efficiency. Because we're trying to do all of that, that creates a huge challenge. And much of that requires significant investment in new technologies. All while doing that too, we're trying to maintain an affordable, the products we do make, we're trying to maintain the affordability to the end user. And so I think from a challenge standpoint of what our industry is going through, we're trying to do all of that all at the same time. And it's going to require significant collaboration, not just within ExxonMobil, but across our industry. Significant collaboration, leveraging and leaning into new ideas that we may not have ever entertained before. And it's not going to be one silver bullet that will propel us into or on the other side of this transition.
No, I think you said it well. It is a and. Fossil fuels are not going away. We're going to continue to find ways to innovate, be more fuel efficient, better utilize the fossil fuels we have. I mean, if you're building a plant here, comparing it to a plant other parts of the world, and look at how we operate these assets, produce these products, and you're looking at a global scale, we produce those products here more efficiently with a smaller environmental footprint than anywhere in the world. So the United States does it better than anybody else. And the minute we start saying we're not going to produce those products here, on a world scale, we're sending that somewhere else. It's gonna have more pollutants.
I just want to echo Dirk, because I remember exactly where I was in 2010. I was a middle-aged mother of 3 with children that were discussing what they wanted to be. Where did they want to work? And my husband and I were watching jobs disappear because of natural gas prices and competitiveness of the U.S. chemical industry on the world scale. And I really appreciated Charlie mentioning George Mitchell and fracking, because it absolutely was a renaissance for energy production, chemical manufacturing in this country. And so where I think we need to be and where my worry cards are for 5 years is, will fracking continue to be supported? Will it continue to grow and advance such that we are indeed net energy exporters? Because I went from telling my children, I'm not sure what you should be, to encouraging all 3 of them to be engineers, and 2 of them actually work for Dow. And if I was back in 2010 and fracking hadn't happened, I don't think that's where we would be today.
So the clock manager is telling us we're out of time. But we've covered the waterfront, right? We've talked about safety and technology and energy and workforce. How about a round of applause for this very special panel? You know, it's amazing. Within 15 miles of here, we have 130 petrochemical plants, 80 different operators, and they have talented people like this. So I think you can be very confident in how we manage workforce and the new technologies and the products that are made. So I want to thank you all for attending today, and look forward to the rest of the day. Thanks.